welcome everyone. My name is Viki Val, and I'm co-founder of KodaDot. And today we are going to talk about the reactive NFTs. And first, a couple of words, like what we are doing in KodaDot. We are the open source NFT marketplace, currently on Kusama, and we are also implementing other multiple parachains, such as the common good one in StateMine, and we recently released the Basilisk, and there are many more to come. And currently, as we are open source, we have like more than 270 stars, 190 forks, and we are operated on the bounty basis. So whenever you come to our repository, you can grab a bounty and get some coins. And also we are carbon negative, so we are having the reforestation program. So anytime you are actually minting on the KodaDot, you are donating some money to the reforestation. And we have, of course, 70 plus contributors. So what are the actual NFTs? So many times you actually ask someone what they thought about NFTs, they can say you like, so those are the pricey pictures on the OpenSea, right? And although it's true, the reality is that basically NFTs represent some bytes stored on the blockchain, which should represent the unique item. And they often come with the metadata, which are stored on the decentralized services such as IPFS or the RV. And these metadata holds various properties, such as like name, description, or attribute. So like what's the color of the background, if the avatar has hats or glasses, and so on. And so for the marketplaces to be like interoperable, we use the metadata from the OpenSea. There are many more, such as Engine, but the OpenSea is like the most common one. And what you can do with your NFTs? First of all, many people use them as the profile pictures. So when you use the Twitter, you see like those hexagonal profile pictures on Twitter. And they are good for the status signaling because when you have Lambo, nobody actually cares. So when you have those hexagonal profile picture, it's like, internet thing for the Lambo. And also many people buy it because they want to become a part of the tribe. So for example, the Bored Apes, they wanted to create the Tinder app, but it shows it's like there is no good balance between males and females, so they postpone it. But the second thing what you can actually do with NFTs is like, as the guy before said, compose them. As you've seen lately, there was a release of Diablo, and you can actually like spend 6 figures on the items that you actually don't own. And with having these items as the NFTs, you can like mint them, have them with the whole warrior with the whole armor. You can sell it on the marketplace and have a profit. Third thing you can do is like remix them. So when you are the music artist, you can take couple more songs, remix them, deploy them on the marketplace, and since they are linked, the original authors can get a passive income in form of the royalties. And the best thing actually you can do with non-fungible tokens is like give them utility. So for example, when you are attending a conference, you can get a proof of attendance, which is like a POAP. And for the next year of the conference, you can get a discount when you hold it, so like a soulbound. And the fifth thing, which is emerging lately, is the DeFi, or decentralized finance. So when you see the Uniswap V3, you can get your LP position as an NFT. But be aware that when you sell it on the OpenSea, your LP position is gone. So be aware of it. Don't sell your NFT. But still something is missing. And when you play, for example, the DeFi Kingdoms, anytime you wanted to do action, the MetaMask appeared. But it's good because you need to sign those transactions. But when your MetaMask appears like 5 times in under 1 minute, it's like super annoying. So goal is to actually decrease the number of transactions. And since we are developing like the marketplace for opinionated standards, we see that they are opinionated, so they are basically built for one use case. And building like less opinionated code, we want to attract like more creative builders so they can build like dev of their dreams. And third thing, we want to focus on the programmable and personalized assets. So that means if you are using the talisman, the app, actually NFT can look different, whether you use Polkadot.js extension. So yeah, what are actually the reactive NFTs? It's sort of a mental model instead of like a standard. And yeah, instead of making the transaction to update the state of the non-fungible token, so for example, transfer, so change the owner, change the price, or change the metadata actually, we are using a set of approaches so the NFT can update itself. And okay, so what's this magic? And we are thinking of currently 3 approaches what you can use. First of them is the conditional NFTs. There are then hook-enabled palettes. And then third one is a token as an entity. So first is a conditional-based NFTs. And we are thinking of having like simple algorithms that can be evaluated either on-chain or off-chain. So for example, based on what kind of wallet are you using or who is connected to your app, you can show the NFT or you can hide it. So for example, I got the NFT as a birthday gift, and with the conditional NFT, you can set that if the current owner is Viki, then you can show the picture, otherwise don't show it. And same as like if the NFT was seen like or was owned with more than 5 people before, show there no image also. Then you have hook-enabled NFTs. This is more like advanced. So in Polkadot, you have something called palette. It's like a native functionality built into the blockchain. And we got inspired by the front-end frameworks such as React or Vue. And we are thinking like, okay, so NFTs, same as the front-end components, they have sort of a life cycle. So they are created, then they are transferred, and they are burned actually. And you can extend those like basic calls with another optional call, which you can later use. And as previously was said, you can use the batch transactions in the substrate, but some functionality you don't want to allow for the user to use, for example, the scheduler. So actually people can do some sort of harm. And the last thing, we can use the palette-based hooks. It means that once you have free space in the block, you can allow user to have like free minting, and it would be like super cool economic incentive for the artist. So how does the hook look like? So when the NFT is created, we just check like, do you have any hook? If not, we finish the transaction as it is. If you have the additional call, we check if it can pass the filter, so you can do no harm. And if it can't pass the filter, you just finish the transaction as it is and just emit the event, okay, this optional call just failed. And if it can pass the filter, you just execute the additional call. And the third one is an entity. And yeah, we are thinking like, what if we have NFTs with as a count with a sort of balance? And as you know, the Polkadot has the on-chain governance with a limited number of seeds. And if you have the NFT, the NFT can actually represent the one seed. And behind the NFT, there could be, for example, the DAO, for example, the Chaos DAO. And what it means, it creates a new, like, social graphs, and like there could be like many people behind the scenes who can like actually, govern about things like who gets the grant and so on. And the best thing is like the NFTs, like because they are representing a DAO, they can own the other NFTs, so they can get another artworks, they can get other game items and so on. And because NFTs can own like other NFTs, you can actually buy a DAO. So there's the same analogy with the acquisition and the Web2 world. And it can still be operated by the multisig behind. So it's really cool. And was actually the best. It's a native, so we don't need to like change many things in the core of the substrate code base. And for the palettes, like the built-in blockchain modules, we just simply extend any existing NFT palette code with the optional call. And also there is a cool thing, which is called the off-chain workers. And you can use them, for example, to update the metadata on the IPFS. So in case of, for example, the car sharing, if your car crashes, you just update the NFT, the metadata of them, to like, yeah, this car crashed, without having to build like special palette for the car sharing. And for the Solidity smart contracts, we can use the delegate calls, which means we just wrap any existing like ERC-721 smart contract into the reactive context. And what are the potential use cases we see? First of all is like schedule minting and listing. So instead of like waking up at 1 a.m. to like list your collection, or the worst case, like use the third-party bot to list instead of you. You can use the like native features of the substrate to work for you. Then we see the generative art and use the, for example, machine learning and the artificial intelligence to build like more generative NFTs. So instead of, you need to make a picture, then add the title, add the description, you just, make a transaction with the prompt. I want the NFT that should have a snake flying on the carpet in the sky, and the palette actually can build the whole image, all the metadata, all the description just for you. So you just pay for the transaction. And also updating the off-chain state. So instead of making another transaction, updating the IPFS again, we can leverage these off-chain workers to do that for you. And where can you try it? We are building the parachain called the MetaPrime, which we call the experimental landscape. And we are, inviting anyone who is building like a real cool use case regarding to the blockchain gaming or the metaverses to bring their own palette. And we would love to test your idea in the like real world. And also the reactive NFTs is one of our use cases. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter. We are KodaDot, and my handle is Viki Val. And enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you. Any questions?
So, as I understand it correctly, this NFT will be able to like change in time depending on what I input at the beginning before I, for example, mint it, or like when would you do the like the reactive part? Like it will be based on like for the average user, will it be possible to like operate it easily?
So the schedule listing, it works like there is a palette called the scheduler, and you can schedule like any call in the or any transaction for the like period of like when it should be executed. So once you create your NFT, with that you pass the additional call like use the scheduler and use the function listing for this NFT which is actually created. So it will be postponed by the chain at the time when you set it. So for example, 10,000 blocks later. But using the UI, we are actually trying to make the UI simple. So you just said like in, I don't know, 5 hours or just in 1 week, list this NFT. So this transaction will be signed and stored in the chain. And when the time comes, it will be automatically executed.
Hi, thanks for the speech. Can you elaborate a little bit more the hooks there? It means in which cases can it be triggered and how it can be applied? Even technically, if you could just give the example.
So for example, we are thinking that you can take any existing NFT palette, for example, the uniques, which is used in the state mine. And there are a couple of calls, for example, create collection, mint the NFT, transfer the NFT, and for example, the burn. And with this call, just add one more parameter to the function, and it should contain the additional call. And this additional call have to be filtered because you can use for example, the pseudo like the root access to the blockchain, and the normal user shouldn't use this feature. So you have to use the filter to just filter out these like calls which shouldn't be called. But once there are calls that are callable, for example, yeah, listing again, or the scheduler, that's one of the use cases. You just, yeah, pass the additional call. If it can pass the filter, you just execute it. So in one transaction, instead of having like batch of 2 transactions, you just have 1 transaction with additional call. So it's like should be cheaper, and also, yeah, you should have allowed a couple of more features than just a batch of 2 transactions.
Thanks for the speech. So with the if-else then defined reactivity, will it be possible to change this in the future, or will that be like immutable? Because, for example, with the wallets, we can have some wallets now, but then there can be new wallets in the future. So will it be possible to change this behavior?
Yeah, so the conditional logic is stored on the IPFS. So we have actually sandbox in KodaDot where you can test it, and it works like you have stored this logic on the IPFS, so anybody can read it. And when it goes to the client, it's evaluated. It's saved because it's like a new language or like a JSON logic, so nobody can write anything like harmful. But there are like, yeah, simple steps, like if like the creator is equal to current owner, or like if you have more than 5 emotes on your NFT, then do like change the picture to something else. So it's evaluated on the client, and yeah, you can change it where you have like changeable metadata. You can change the logic, but you have to like mint another new NFT currently because we don't support like changing the metadata. Hello?
Hey, so thanks for the talk, and I just wanted to ask, like in the car sharing example you mentioned, then you can actually update the metadata of the NFT, but like from my understand, like if you are minting NFT, the NFT is on-chain and the metadata are getting uploaded to the IPFS, for instance, and IPFS makes that immutable, right? So how can you actually change the metadata of the underlying data structure in the IPFS? Is it like up and only data structure, or how does it work?
Yeah, so a couple of the NFTs, like NFT palettes, support for you to change the metadata. So for example, the state man actually allows you to change the metadata whenever you want. So you just upload the new IPFS file and change the metadata of the NFT. But most of the actual palettes, for example, the Buzzlist doesn't support it. So depends on the implementation of the OpenUnity standard based on the chain. So some support that, some not. Yeah, lovely. So thank you.